If you also find it hard to get yourself to start studying, or can't just make yourself study long enough despite knowing you should be studying more for your forthcoming exam, you are definitely not alone. In this video, I'm going to be sharing 8 scientific reasons why this happens. I mean, why you can't get yourself to sit to study or can't study long enough despite your willingness to. So, by the end of this video, you are going to be having 8 new tools in your arsenal that will help you make yourself to start studying and study for a longer period of time. If you are new here, I'm currently a 4th year medical student of the University of Ibadan. So before we go into the video, I would like to ask for a favor. Kindly subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share to someone you think might find it helpful. Now, here are the 8 reasons why you can't get yourself to start studying or study long enough. The first reason why you can't get yourself to start studying is undefined work. So various scientific evidence has shown that when a goal is well defined and there's also clearly defined plan on how to achieve the goal, the chances of success are way higher. This also applies to studying. Many students do not start studying early enough, so there is a lot of work that has accumulated, and when they want to start studying, they do not know what subject they want to study or what topic they want to study in the subject or how much of the topic they want to study in the subject, and they just have it in mind that okay, I need to study. Not having a very clear plan or very clear goal of what you want to do or what you want to do at a particular period of time increases your inertia of doing the particular thing. So what should you do about this? What you should do is to actually clearly define what you want to study in a particular period of time. For many of us, we always have multiple subjects and multiple topics to study at each point in time. You're going to say, okay, today I want to study 2 subjects. Maybe I want to study anatomy and physiology. But don't just stop there. Go to your anatomy textbook and say, okay, what exactly in anatomy do I want to study? I want to study the gross anatomy of upper limb. Then open the textbook and look at the pages you want to study. See the subheadings under that upper limb. This way, you are not just increasing your chances of actually studying, but you are also familiarizing yourself with the concept. When you are going to get there to sit to study, your brain already knows what it's expecting. So this will not only increase your chances of actually studying, but will also make the process of studying easier because you know exactly what you want to do. And I would even advise doing it a night before the actual day you are going to study. What I'm going to study today, I've already planned it since last night. I know what topics I'm going to study today, and I actually write them in my to-do list. So today I'm going to study, I don't know if you can see this, I'm going to study mediator of inflammation, which is from page 70 to page 78 from the textbook. This way I know what exactly I want to do, and when I get to sit to study, I'm just gonna start to study it. Second reason why I find it hard to start studying is overwhelming work. Like I've already said before, for most of us, studying is a hard work. It's something we mostly do not want to do because there are so many fun things to do. There's a lot of things I could be doing that is way more fun than studying. Coming to the realization and accepting the fact that studying is hard work should help you make deliberate steps to make it less difficult to actually approach. What I'm saying in essence is this: studying that is already hard to do, that your brain naturally tends to avoid. When you have a lot of things to study, you have a lot of materials you need to cover, your brain just naturally wants to take you away from it. I don't know if you've ever done this, that just thinking about the fact that you need to study just makes you start having a headache or just makes you sad that, oh God, when am I going to finish all of these things I have? If you feel overwhelmed by the work, your brain wants to take you away from the work. You tend to want to do everything else but actually study. But we know that it is when you start studying the material that the material reduces. What can you do about this? There are 2 things you can do about this. There's the long-term solution and there's the short-term solution. The long-term solution is to start studying from the beginning of the semester or from the beginning of the term if you're in secondary school. So don't let your work pile up, do not let your work accumulate, start studying early. But if you already have accumulated work and you feel overwhelmed, and this overwhelming feeling is preventing you from actually getting down to study, what you should do is to plan your work just like before and pick just a single thing you want to study at a particular period of time and forget everything else. For example, I have like 10 topics I want to study in pharmacology and I have like 30 days to my exam. I know that there's just so much I can study today. So today, I'm going to say all I want to do is to study 2 topics. And I'm going to pretend like nothing else exists. The 2 topics I picked to study is just what I want to study. So in simple terms, anytime you want to study and you feel overwhelmed, just break it down into sizable chunk you can finish in a particular period of time. And Let other things not matter to you at the time. Just say, once I can do this thing today, then I'll feel happy and fulfilled. And the interesting thing about this, because I noticed that a lot in medical school, I just say, okay, I'm overwhelmed, but I'm going to just pick one and study it at a time. By the time I keep doing one at a time, the accumulative effect is always very exciting to see. In like few days, I'll just say, wow, see how much I've been able to cover. But it feels like I'm doing very little. So it's better to do little by little at a time than want to do all of the things at once and not actually get yourself to do them. The third reason why you might not be able to get yourself to study is productive procrastination. And this comes from the fact that studying is hard and you tend to want to avoid studying. When you have to study, your brain just starts thinking about every other thing you need to do that are productive. I don't know if you've ever experienced this. When you need to study is when you realize that, oh God, I think my room is dirty and I should clean this room before studying. And that's when you realize that, oh, I've not responded to someone that called me earlier. You just want to find something else which is productive, something else you're going to feel good about doing. What can you do about this? What you can do about this is identify that there is something called productive procrastination. If you see that what you are productively procrastinating with is going to take a lot of your time, I would say just finish studying first and do it. Or you could also divide your studying into chunks and say, okay, after I've studied, half of what I need to study is when I'll do this extra thing. Fourth reason why you might be finding it difficult to study for long is habit linking. One of the commonest things people link with studying is sleeping. And this is a very bad habit which can be broken. I know some students, they will not sleep all day or feel sleepy at all, even if they are lying on the bed. But once you give them a book, like take this book and study it, they are going to sleep off. If you fall into this category, or you might have successfully linked sleeping with studying. So what you want to do is to actually break this habit. And how are you going to do this? What should you do about it? First of all is to have a good night's sleep before you want to study. Have a good night's sleep. Sleep well at night, which is going to reduce your chances of actually sleeping when you start studying. Second thing is to study in the morning if you can. Because when you just woke up in the morning, your chances of sleeping back when you are studying is slimmer. Another thing you could do is to do power nap, which is something I do a lot because I personally like sleeping myself. If I need to study or if I'm studying and I start feeling sleepy and I can't make myself stay awake, what I'm going to do is to just set my timer for 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. Then I'm going to sleep for that duration. And once my alarm rings, I'm going to get up, take a walk outside, maybe go drink water, then come back to study. Another thing is to study in a place where you are less likely to sleep, where you are not so comfortable. If you're in your room, your chances of actually sleeping is higher. So the next reason why you might not be able to study for long is distraction. And distraction is a major reason why people sit down for a long period of time. And by the time you calculate how much time they actually spend studying, you realize it is insignificant. That's why you wonder why I've been sitting for like 3 hours now and I've just been able to study very little. It is distraction. And we know that the commonest source or the major source of distraction for most of us is our mobile phone. Here is the best advice I'm going to give is to try to not study on your phone. If you have a laptop or a tablet or textbook, just study on those ones, and your phone, just take your phone, throw it into the river or smash it. Just joking, don't do that. Take your phone, keep it in a separate place. Do not take your phone to the library, keep it in a separate room, or keep it just out of sight. Like me, I believe many people too, your phone is your major device. Now my phone is where I do most of my study. Even big textbook, I study it on my phone. What I do to reduce my chances of being distracted by my phone is to first of all mute notification. I mute notification for WhatsApp or Instagram. I mute notification for most of these apps. Lastly, on distraction, think about this. Instead of studying and simultaneously using the internet or responding to messages, why don't you just spend the time on focused studying, and when you are done studying you can have all the time you want to spend on the distraction. The sixth reason why you might not be able to study for long is poor study location. This is very relative. It depends on the individual. Like I know of some medical students that almost always study in their bed and they are not doing badly. They sit in bed with their phone to their face and just scroll. That's how they study. But for most people, this is a suboptimal way of studying because your brain associates locations for different activities. Your bed is meant for relaxation, for sleeping, and when you're on your bed, your brain is not at its maximum peak for thinking, for assimilating, for staying awake. It somehow knows that, okay, this place is associated for sleep and rest. Let's calm down here. I generally advise against studying in your bed. Sit at your study table because that's where your brain associates with studying. Or better yet, if you can go to the library or go to a reading room. Or, like I've said before, this is very, very relative. I want you to figure out what study environment is most effective for you. Where do I study and get the best out of it? The seventh reason why you find it hard to start studying or to study for long is lack of motivation. And this is a major reason. I think I'm going to make a dedicated video for impact of motivation on studying. There are a lot of scientific evidence that has been done on the concept of motivation. Motivation can be a big reason why many people do not want to study. What can you do about it? One of the things you can do is to always think of a reward yourself. After you've completed a task, you could just take a walk if you like walking, or play the game, and make sure you are not doing all this thing until you've done it, so that when you are studying, there's something you are looking forward to at the end of the study. Or you could get yourself your favorite snack, or get yourself something in terms of reward. Another thing to motivate yourself is to think about the consequences of not studying. I think about this a lot. Anytime I find it difficult to study for a while, just think about it, like, guy, what are you doing? If you keep doing this way, you're probably going to fail. And I'll just imagine how I'm going to feel if I fail the exam. That feeling is so scary that it's going to make me go back to start studying. And I think this can also work for you. You could try it out. The last reason, which is a unique one, why I think you might not be able to get yourself to start studying or study long enough, is because you do not know yourself well enough. One thing I would advise is to pay attention to yourself. I started doing this, and this is one of the best things I've done. When I was getting into my preclinical, I decided that I was going to use myself as an experiment. I was studying different books on studying. I was listening to people that teach on how to study effectively. And what I was doing then was to pay attention to myself. Okay, let me see, this is what works for me. This is what does not work. This works for me. This does not work for me. Now I have good knowledge of how to make myself study. I know if I'm sad or whatever I'm going through, I know how to still make myself to study nonetheless, because I've spent a lot of time trying to learn about myself. So you should too. All the tips I've given you, try to experiment with some of them and note which works, note which does not work. If you think there's any other tip you know that will help someone start studying or study for a longer period of time, kindly put in the comment section. Please like this video, share with someone you think might find it helpful, and subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next one.